Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Since the middle of this week, I've received many messages under my videos asking me for a statement about what is going on in Germany at the moment. And in fact, some of you might have heard about this already. We have had a big campaign of raids from our secret police and our law enforcement where they searched 150 objects, 3,000 officers were used for this campaign, and I think they arrested 25 people and they're investigating 27 more or something like that. So it's a large campaign aimed at a group that's called the Citizens of the Empire, the Reichsbürger, and the authorities claim, or they state, that this group conspired in order to overthrow the German state. So this group is said to want to replace the German government, the German state, with their own government, and in fact also establish another state. So in today's video, I first want to tell you a little bit about this group as far as I know about it from the media and publicly accessible sources, and I also want to tell you what happened during this campaign now in recent days, and also how the media is presenting these things to us, because we only know, of course, what they tell us. We don't have any other information, and the information that we have so far raises a lot of questions, for me at least. So during this first part of the video, I will basically summarize what the mainstream media tells us so far, and then in the second part, towards the end, I really want to give you my own personal opinion on the matter and how I see it based on my previous experiences and also what I stated in previous videos already. Alright, so let's begin. What is this dubious group, the Citizens of the Empire? Well, it is actually, according to what I've read at least, it is not one centralized group, but there are many groups in Germany, and over past decades, many little groups locally have tried to establish some sort of a state within a state, and it looks maybe on first glance like some funny reenactment, like some of these groups have issued their own passports of the German Empire, and they call themselves like Citizens of the Empire, as I said already, and they have their own king or their own chancellor or what have you, and they see the German state as illegitimate. So not only do they not like it, they say it's illegitimate. It's not a real German state. Germany is not a sovereign country, and that is actually where a lot of other people would kind of agree, including, by the way, Mr. Schäuble, a very prominent politician of the CDU party. He said that himself. But these groups go, of course, further, as I said already. Not only do they dislike the government or they see Germany as an illegitimate state, they say that we establish our own Germany, and then they call it like the Kingdom of Germany or some kind of Prussian thing, or basically they want to bring the Reich back. And there are different names, and there were different groups, as I said, over the years who tried that or who established things like that. And to me, it looks like that they're not a centralized, strictly hierarchical, organized organization, but it's several groups here and there that are more or less independent of each other, but they have a common ideology, it seems like. So I have heard this umbrella term Reichsbürger several times in past years, and it was, as far as I remember, they have a tendency to collect weapons, and they also don't like it that much when officers try to enter their houses in order to take these weapons away from them. That normally ends violently. And these were the more scary and serious stories that I could read about, besides, as I mentioned, the rather funny or comical stories about their own passports and their new German empire and their new government. So it is maybe a little bit like the sovereign citizens that were a thing in the US, or maybe still are, I don't know. So maybe in other countries there are similar groups, but in Germany it is mostly connected to the German Empire, and that they say, well, either the empire was never really ended correctly, or we don't have a constitution, or officially the Reich is still a thing and we are the legitimate heirs of the German Reich or something. Yeah, that's kind of our German special flavor of these kinds of people, and similar groups exist in other countries as well. So, but what has changed now? What is the big commotion in this week? Well, according to the mainstream media, they have been observing, I think, since February this year already, a group or a conspiracy that is accused now to really work out a plan to overthrow the German government. And they are said to have been recruiting among law enforcement and military, and they really tried to build up an organization that could strike in Berlin and take over the German parliament building, the Reichstag, and then replace the current government with their own shadow government. In this group was a judge from Berlin, and she was an MP for the AfD for a while, I think. And the guy that they wanted to make the head of the German state, then the new Kaiser, so to speak, was none other than Heinrich the 13th, Prince Reuß zu Köstritz. Yeah, I've never heard about this guy before. He's definitely not high German nobility, and it is also said that he has financial problems. He's estranged from the rest of his family. They think he's kind of a weirdo, and what I have read so far is that he had a legal battle against the German state about property that was confiscated after the war or something, and he wants it back. But well, he fought a legal battle against the state so that the state gives him back his land. This is the way I understood it, and this is of course a battle you can only lose, and he lost a large part of his wealth, I guess, in these legal fees or in this legal battle, and that frustrated him, and I think he personally then holds a grudge against the German state. This is at least what I could read in the last 2 days. I read a couple of articles about the background and the people involved, and yeah, this guy seems like a sad but also kind of pathetic character, and no charisma, not really connected, I would say. Nobody in his right mind would follow this guy, and if this group tried to set this guy up as the new Kaiser, that raises some questions about their general intelligence, I would say. But more about that towards the end of the video. Among these conspirators should have been also, or is said to have been also, some ex-military, but they're really old. Like, they were serving in the 90s or something, and they're in their 60s or 70s now. Also some former law enforcement, but the pattern that you see in this group is that they're all really old, and there were some jokes and memes that they tried to take over the Reichstag while they're sitting in wheelchairs or something like that. Yeah, so they're really, really old, and yes, they're maybe former military, but they're 60 or 70 years old. So a lot of people heard these stories and they couldn't really take it seriously, it seems. And that impression also didn't get better when our Ministry for the Interior, or our government basically, when they declared proudly what they found during these raids. Well, they found flares, signal flares, and they found some crossbows, and they found cash. Can you believe that? Cash in houses. And they also found food supplies, really, food supplies now in winter. That's crazy, right? I mean, our own government tells us to have cash and food supplies ready in case there is a blackout, and now they present that as some kind of indication of some kind of military coup. It's just normal that people have cash and supplies right now. But, they did find some actual weapons, but, the articles didn't state clearly if these were not just legally there, because the owners are maybe hunters, or they're competitive shooters in a club, and these people are just using these weapons either for boar or for deer hunting or for competitive shooting in a sports club. But at the same time, the mainstream media and our government, they are spreading a narrative that Germany just narrowly escaped a coup d'etat, and we almost lost democracy forever in Germany, and the new shadow government of the empire would have been installed in Berlin if these 3,000 law enforcement officers hadn't stopped these maniacs. But let me sum it up once again, what the facts are so far. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to wait a little bit, because they are still searching, of course, and they thought that they find this huge hoard or this huge storage of ammunition and weapons and whatsoever. But, once again, they found cash. Thousands of euros in cash. Can you believe that? In 150 objects. And they found food supplies. They also found sticks and ropes, so basically crossbows. They found signal flares and 3 real weapons. Oh, and they also found some air guns and some blank guns. These are guns that only make bang, but they don't actually fire a projectile. So once again, this is not stuff that you would take to a military coup in order to overthrow the government or storm the parliament. So this group did not have the manpower, because I don't really count 70-year-olds for the revolutionary masses that are required in order to overthrow the German state. So they didn't have the manpower, they didn't have the equipment, and as far as I'm concerned, I even doubt that there was a concrete plan. And now we come to the second part of the video, or the part of the video where I want to tell you what I think is going on. But this is really just my personal opinion. And because the reports that we're getting are, well, they stay vague at the really important points. So they always talk about these plans, that they had concrete plans, but they never get concrete. They never tell us what they had actually planned. And when I see it, what kind of people they were and what kind of equipment they had, or what equipment they didn't have, and also like 25 people, that's not a lot. And even if they have 100 sympathizers, that's still not enough if you don't have any weapons. So once again, I didn't hear anything about concrete plans. All they had, probably, once again, they are not saying it specifically, but I believe that they have this information from some kind of chat groups, from messenger apps, either Telegram or WhatsApp or something. And what I think happened is that these geriatric geezers, they were in these chat groups and they didn't realize what we know, or maybe they weren't aware of the fact, and we know that for a fact, that the security organizations in Germany, the secret police, and I made a video about that, they are listening. And not only are they listening, they also infiltrate groups like that, and then they instigate things. So the informants or the infiltrators, they are even allowed to break the law as long as it furthers their cause or their mission in order to create things or to stir up things in these groups. They are allowed to do that, and they're doing that. And I think personally that this is just what happened, and nobody knows if that is true or not. Not even the people who were arrested now. They don't even know who was actually a real member of this group or who was working for the government, in fact. So as the media has reported, they have been listening to them for months already, and they probably instigated here and there. And then some of these people that they wanted to provoke, they said some outrageous things, and the things that you should do to the politicians in Berlin, and somebody should go there and do something, and things like that. And that, of course, they recorded, and now they have all they need in order to put them on trial, and also to put them behind bars. But now I want to mention 2 extremely important aspects of the story that I think I haven't mentioned yet. And the first one is that the media, journalists, have been informed, that they were informed about the raid, I think, a week in advance already. And that is highly unusual, because you want to keep this a secret, of course. Otherwise, you could endanger the success of these raids if some information leaks out. But the journalists were informed many days in advance, and they were ready with photographers and camera teams as they raided these houses and as they made these arrests. And that is highly unusual. Of course, the German regime, they want these propaganda images. They want to show these evil right-wing conspirators. They want to see it live on camera, and they want to broadcast it to the German people as a warning. What will happen to them if they are speaking up, or if they are showing their indignation and their dissatisfaction with the current government. And the second thing I want to mention is that these people, these conspirators, and I think they really exist, there are many of these people that are a little bit extreme, and also some of them dangerous. Sure, they do exist. This is plausible. I'm not denying that. But these people, interestingly, they said that there is an alliance out there, a benevolent group that includes the Russian Federation and the United States of all other countries, right? And some technologically advanced alliance. And that will then, once they take over the Reichstag, they will actually liberate Germany and deliver the German country to its rightful new government, to the new Kaiser. And this is so reminiscent to me of Q. Yeah, this messiah figure, the savior figure, Trump, or the elites that are on our side, that are working behind the scenes for our goals and for the people. Yeah, that is all nonsense. This is magical thinking, wishful thinking, and this is exactly what they do. And I said that many times. I think Q also. I think Q is for the most part just a distraction, and then it is also used by the intelligence agencies in order to provoke people exactly when they need it, and then make these arrests and have these nice propaganda pictures like January 6th, for example, classic example. And also, as a German, I have to repeat this, you were warned. If you had paid attention to what went on in Germany a year before, at the stairs of the Reichstag's building, that was the practice run for January 6th. That was the exact same thing. And watch my video about that. There was a woman in the crowd that was going around in Berlin that claimed, that said to the people on the street, Donald Trump is in the US embassy right now. We have to show him a sign, we have to show him that we're with him. So let's all, congregate on the stairs of the Reichstag's building to send a message towards Donald Trump that German patriots are with Donald Trump, right? That was, of course, nonsense. Donald Trump was not in Berlin. That was a made-up story, and that woman later claimed that she was informed by important people from Q, from the US, that Donald Trump is in fact right now in Berlin, and that was a hoax. I mean, probably she was in contact via Telegram with some glowies, and they told her to get a crowd together. And the camera teams, once again, the trap was already set. The camera teams were there, and what they made out of this, I mean, a couple of people with their German Reich flags, with their imperial flags, they wanted to take some tourist pictures on the stairs of the Reichstag's building, and they turned that into an attempt to storm our parliament building. Yeah, just the same way as they did with January 6th, and that was the test run. And this is just another of these incidents that was not like the storming of a building or something, but the basic strategy, the basic premise is the same. I think we have agents and infiltrators here that are trying to egg people on, that are trying to provoke people to instigate something, so that at the right moment the regime, the establishment have the right pictures in order to change public discourse, to control the narrative, and once again to send a warning to all the people. And what did we have in the news until this raid happened? Well, and they were listening to them since February, they said, and they were just waiting for the right moment. And it seems like the right moment was now, because there was a very brutal case in the media, and there was a lot of media attention on it. Two schoolgirls have been attacked in Germany by one of Angela Merkel's best friends of her guests here, yeah. And if that wasn't bad enough, one of the girls actually died, and she was, she had a migratory background of the Turkish sort, and that meant that Turkish newspapers did not ignore the issue. They showed the picture of her, they published the name of her, and you know that German media never publish pictures and names of German victims, but as she is considered by the Turkish media to be Turkish, of course, even though I think her citizenship was German, that didn't go away from the media. And of course, our government wants these pictures and these reports to go away. And some people say, of course, maybe this raid was planned for months already, but some people say that the actual date now, the timing, is a little bit too suspicious. So maybe they did that now in order to make this story of the dead girl go away. So there are, of course, a lot of details, and maybe you can read about that on Deutsche Welle or wherever. These details are interesting, and some of them are maybe worth mentioning, but I don't want to drag this out for too long. This is my summary of what happened. So what group is that? The citizens of the empire. Then this particular cell with these rather old guys, like a judge, and then former military, former law enforcement, and this weird prince that nobody I know has ever heard about. And then the very meager findings of these 3,000 officers that searched 150 objects. And then, what did they have to show for? Almost nothing. It's a big nothing burger in terms of what kind of equipment and what kind of evidence they found. But nevertheless, our state and our mainstream media, they want to tell the people, they want to further this narrative that we narrowly escaped a takeover like 1933. But I think the most important detail here is this belief that the members of this group had in this benevolent elite group, the Alliance, like in Star Wars they called it, right? And then this savior, messiah figure that they want, and this kind of similar way that Q also operates, or this similarity that, tends to make people rather passive, because they think if there is this benevolent group working for our interest, or if there is this savior like Trump, then we don't have to do a lot, then we don't need to organize, we can just support that group or support that guy. Or in the case of these conspirators, they thought that they would be the spark, that they would be the ignition spark that sets in motion then the plan that this omnipotent hidden elite group had, and they will just wipe away the deep state and create a new Germany for them. And they just need to roll with their wheelchairs in front of the Reichstag building and shoot their signal flares into the air, and then the UFO fleet from the dark side of the moon would land at the lawn in front of the Parliament building, and all these troopers would swarm out and take over Berlin, like in this beautiful movie where Tom Cruise was wearing an eye patch. Anyway, I hope you are informed now, and this was my take on the issue. You might disagree or have a different opinion, but I cannot take this whole affair 100% serious. I think these groups exist, and these very extreme types, they're out there, definitely. Some of them are even dangerous, but I think what we saw here was not only homegrown. I think there were infiltrators and informants that were, building this thing up. And these rather old gentlemen probably weren't aware really that not everyone who they meet in a Telegram chat group can be trusted. Yeah, this is just my take on the issue. Feel free to disagree or leave a comment down below. Servus, Kameraden.